Hey you guys, let's do a story time video. I have a relaxing evening tonight, even though I had planned a lovely fingernail video with fingernail polish. It was a fail, so you may notice purple color to my fingernails. That's why. Details later. So, in fact, there's even purple on the Elvis mug. Oh my goodness. Well, I think I found my gummy that I enjoy even more so than the dots. These juji fruits, oh my goodness. I'm just having a terrible time with the gummy worms or gummy bears. Somebody had mentioned a specific brand. I might have to try that brand. Dots are wonderful and chewy, but these juji fruits from, I heard about them on Seinfeld. The other day was microwave oven day. And I always love to share the story. My husband and I moved into our new home together, and we had just been married not quite 5 months, and in the meantime I was moving out of Santa Barbara to his semi home, but we were packing up the semi home because we knew we were moving to a new home together out of town. So we move into our new home November. Obviously holiday time. I kind of forgot that part. So we're in our new home, and I'm trying to impress my sweetheart as a good cook, a newlywed who knew how to use a microwave, right? The two things I remember, this is pretty funny, is we were just gonna do baked potatoes, and he was all excited because it was a brand new microwave and brand new kitchen. The thought that I was gonna have delicious. I was gonna make them into like mashed potatoes, bake them in the microwave and whip them up. So I don't know anything about anything, and I washed the potatoes. I had 3 or 4 of them, stuck them in a bowl in the microwave. So I'm kind of asking, like, I wonder how many minutes. And I obviously set the timer for way too long because we're sitting over here on the couch and he's reading the paper and I'm on the couch with him, and we hear like this pop blow, and like we both at the same time say, what was that? Like, open the microwave and the potatoes had just blown. So now we know that that's why you need to puncture and give some breathing room in there for your potatoes in the microwave. So That was kind of funny, but not really, because, I'm the newlywed. I'm thinking I want to impress my sweetheart. Okay, so that comes and goes. And then the next time we're going to do hot dogs. And I said, let's just do it in the microwave. And he's excited too, because again, it's the new microwave. Same thing. I'd say, well, how long should we leave it in? I put it in for way too long. And I didn't put water in there or anything. I just put 2 hot dogs on there on a plate, set the timer for way too long. We're out here waiting for the hot dogs. Boom. Boom. What was that? And by this time, my husband was a little bit disgusted with me. And he just kind of shook his head. And I kind of remember this next story happening like in the same day or within the same time frame, because he was so upset at me with a dishwasher incident. That he's normally very cool and collected and calm and doesn't get upset, but he was somewhat upset. So he's in the kitchen, sitting here on the couch, and I said, well, I guess all we have to do now is run the dishwasher and we're all done here in the kitchen, something to that effect. And I mistakenly say, I just did the dishes earlier today, they're clean. And he opens the dishwasher, and on the bottom I had a cast iron skillet, and the dishes and cups on the top of everywhere else. And the first thing he sees, and he opens the dishwasher in the bottom drawer, is that cast iron skillet full of rust. And he shakes the pan and says, you see this? I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole. Anybody who eats this with all this rust, you're going to get lockjaw. And lockjaw, I'm telling you, was such an old-fashioned word in my life, and I was convinced no one else in the world used the word lockjaw or believed in it except my grandparents and my mom and all the relatives on her side of the family. When I was little, my siblings would run around with bare feet. My mom would let us run around barefoot, but if my dad was home, she'd put up another front. She said, get your shoes and socks on. And we'd be thinking, like, what? You let us run around barefooted, but my dad didn't. So she would say, you can't run around barefooted in the grass. You don't know what you're going to step on. You might get lockjaw, because if you stepped on a rusty nail or anything metal that was rusty, you're going to get lockjaw. And I could never understand how the rusty thing infiltrated your body as a kid to give you lockjaw. And then somewhere along the line, as I grew older, I heard about ptomaine poisoning. And I kept trying to correct my mom and say, Mom, are you sure we're going to get lockjaw, or are we going to get ptomaine poisoning? Because somehow I connected ptomaine poisoning with stepping on something, and I was sure my mom got the diseases mixed up, and stepping on a metal nail. But when my husband shook the cast iron skillet and said lockjaw, and his eyes were bulging, couldn't believe it. So now the bigger question is, how many of you even had a relative that threatened you with lockjaw. What was the other thing that gave you lockjaw? Anything rusty, like stepping on a rusty wire or a rusty nail. I don't know what else there was, so I'm curious to know if any of you were threatened with lockjaw or ever got domain poisoning mixed up with diseases. And what was the other thing he did that in the kitchen? I should have just left it alone, but he was being nice. I came to find out that he preferred doing his own cooking and his own thing in the kitchen. But I didn't know that. And up until just recently, I thought I knew everything about how my husband fell in love with me. But just yesterday, and daughter number 1 was here to observe my husband, we started Netflix, and we saw that Lindsay Lohan is in a new Christmas movie. And I apologize, I don't know the name of the Christmas movie. But spoiler alert, it's just a Christmas theme, obviously, of a guy and a girl falling in love bit by bit. So, and then at the end of the movie, they realized that they were made for each other. So, through the movie, as little things are happening, and the guy is starting to fall in love with her, starting to love her, my husband is just all teary-eyed. And I'm saying, do you really like Christmas movies? I didn't know you liked Christmas movies so well. And neither did my daughter. And so we're kind of looking at him and questioning him and saying, you know, right, is that why you love this movie so much? Is that when you started falling in love with me at Christmas, to be specific, Christmas 1981? Because up until yesterday, my whole love story with my husband, with what he told me, that he definitely knew he was in love with me on our second date. We got reconnected in December of 81. First date was February of 82. He fell in love with me March of 82. So as he's watching the movie, he's remembering the emotions and the feelings he was going through when we reconnected in that December, Christmas time of 81. And we hadn't I hadn't seen him for like 2 or 3 years prior, and I had changed from the girl next door to a young, lovely young lady in his eyes. So he sees me. And we had a lovely evening. Yeah, it was like, I brought my little sister over to the neighbor's house. It's his little kids were there. They played with my little sister. His ex-wife had brought him over. And it was just a lovely Christmas evening. And so the kids were playing, and his ex-wife was with the kids, and he invites me out to the hot tub. We go to the hot tub. We shared our first little, I guess it was a romantic kiss. And later that night, he invites me, after his kids and his ex-wife had gone back to their house. My little sister and I stayed there to help him clean up the house and do the dishes. And he asked me to the military ball. And I'm all excited, saying, yes, and you better be serious. I hope this isn't the wine we had out in the hot tub talking. I hope you're serious, because I think it's going to be a wonderful formal event. And you know I love formal events and to get all dressed up. He says, no, I'll send you a copy of the invitation to the Valentine's Day military ball, February. So, again, that was December of 81, and I just now find out yesterday that that first meeting we had, is where he was getting to get reacquainted with me again for those few hours. He was just besides himself. I had no clue. But I did find out later that he was somewhat impressed to ask me to the military ball because he was an officer and he never ever had someone with him as his guest at the military ball. He did go one time with his ex-wife, and it was such a awful event for him. She wasn't happy. It was just everything did not go well at all for him. Never had anybody ever again. So for him to ask me was a big deal. And we had a wonderful time. But I'm still blown away that after this many years, we were married 40 years this past summer, and I just now find out that he began falling for me or having an attraction toward me that December. And every 10 or 15 minutes in the Lindsay Lohan movie, he's sniffling at the side of the couch, kind of teary-eyed. And he wasn't embarrassed, and we weren't, making fun of him. I would say, I had no clue. And so as I'm reliving the events of the night, I said, is that what you were thinking when you first saw me? And he pretty much convinced it was from, like, I had him at the front door. When he seen me come in through the front door, because like I said, he hadn't seen me for 2 or 3 years prior, and I had matured from the tomboy high school kid next door to the young lady. So that's kind of the rest of the story to my love story. My husband and I, that I never knew about till yesterday. So that's kind of nice. You think you know everything about your sweetheart, and then comes to find out you're pleasantly surprised to find out more. We did the microwave story. I think microwave day was December 6th or something. And we did the hot dogs, potatoes, lockjaw, and my husband's real love story. Start was in December. What else? Yeah, I was hoping we'd have a fun fingernail video maybe next time. Okay, what else? Should I tell you about MRI visit number 2 yesterday? Oh goodness. I had to go into the MRI machine again yesterday. Can't believe I almost forgot to tell you that story. I needed an MRI of my joints, my hips, my back. It did not have to be in the regular MRI. It was in the open MRI tunnel, right? Sweet Loretta, bless her heart, she picked me up, drove me down there, stayed with me the whole time, because I still needed to take that lorazepam or whatever that knockoff pill is that keeps you a little less panic. But I had to. I still had to take pain pills before I left. It was an evening appointment because it's the special open MRI. It wasn't during the day. So I'd taken my Tylenol, like at 4 o'clock. 5 o'clock I took my tramadol, and then 6 o'clock I took that relaxing pill, so that by the time my test came at 6:30, I thought I was pretty well relaxed. Everything was good until we got into the actual room, and the mannerisms and body language of the lady nurse was not patient enough for me. And Loretta couldn't believe how panicked I seemed to get. Like, all of a sudden, I kind of feel bad. The nurse lady was nice, but she talked fast, she moved fast, and I needed her to go slow because I was starting to get panic. And she wanted me to put these earbuds in before I went in the machine, but I was panicked. I said, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I said, well, I'll put them in when I go in the machine. So I sat down and got arranged, and I realized my mouth was so dry, and I said, I'm so sorry, I need water. Probably some water. But I could still feel I was huffing and puffing, and they hadn't even started the machine yet, right? And I was just, and I had forgotten to take off my tennis shoes. And just as the machine starts going, I realize I'm starting to panic because my shoes are on. I said, wait, we forgot to take off my tennis shoes. So she stops, we back out, and Loretta takes off my shoes. I get it, and she starts it up again. I said, wait, I need to slow down. I think I'm moving too fast. And so Loretta was real nice and kind of explained to the nurse, he'll be fine. And so we went back in, and I had to stay in there for like 30-some minutes. And no, it's not as bad as a regular MRI. But again, it's all the beforehand stuff that is stressful. The seeing the machine, getting on the table. Don't move, they tell you not to move. Then they put this heavy thing over you, and they strap that over you. It wasn't a tight strap, but it was strapped in. And I said, wait, do you have to hook the strap in? Can't you just lay it on top of me? I'm not going to move. I'm not going to take it off. I understand you need it for the imaging. She says, no, man, it has to be strapped in. I thought I was going to lose it. I said, okay, wait. And I was huffing and puffing. I said, okay, you can hook it in, but please don't hook it in right away and then start the machine. Don't start me going down the tube in the machine. And I just kept, I felt like I had to keep apologizing to her, but it was just her way about her, and she was matter-of-factly. And I think I needed the nurse from the other facility who was very soft and quiet and slow and sympathetic towards my fear. So that was yesterday, last night. Obviously made it through, and so I hope that's enough MRI machine for me for a long while. I do believe gluten is the root of all my illness and disease at this point. What I've researched about gluten, it's so invasive in your body. If you have a gluten intolerance, ruins your gut, ruins your intestines, and when that's ruined, you can't absorb proper nutrients, so then you're nutrient deficient, and everything goes bad. I think it's the root problem behind my allergies and my vertigo. I think it's a root problem that might have to do with my back pain. But we'll see. But shame on me. I did not take my gluten intolerance seriously enough to where now at this point I really can't have any gluten on a day-by-day basis. Or if I have gluten one day, the next day or 2 days later I'll have a vertigo event, and they're awful. And I have to trace back and realize, okay, it was gluten. And each vertigo event gets worse and worse. First, it's just kind of dizzy and nauseous. Then it started to get dizzy and blurry. My eyesight went blurry. So, that's a shame that I had to get to that point to where I fiercely say I can't have gluten. So, and a far second ingredient that I think makes me feel ill is sugar. Not near as ill as the gluten. I don't have any bad events from sugar, but I can tell my body just is not at its best with sugar. So for what it's worth, always mention these little nuggets of health or nutrition or food information in case you might be having symptoms, and it might be something that helps you. When all the doctors your tests come back and say, oh, you're fine, but we know we don't feel fine.